Welcome to the lesson on the human excretory system. In this lesson, we'll discuss what excretion is, the types of wastes that are removed from the body. We'll also talk about the main structures and their functions of the excretory system, including the lungs, liver, kidneys, and the skin. We'll finish with a discussion on 3 disorders of the excretory system. All right, let's start with what excretion is. And excretion is the removal of metabolic waste. It's different from the removal of undigested material, which is called elimination. So excretion is the removal of metabolic waste. The types of waste we're discussing are carbon dioxide, which is a waste from aerobic respiration, which you learned earlier this year. Water is a waste, and that's from aerobic respiration and dehydration synthesis, both of which you learned earlier this year. And ammonia, urea, uric acid is another type of waste, and these are nitrogenous wastes. This results from protein breakdown, and in order of decreasing toxicity and dependence on water as a carrier. So that means ammonia is the most toxic, with uric acid being the least toxic. And the last type of waste are excess salts and water-soluble vitamins. Larger animals cannot get rid of metabolic waste by diffusion alone, and need an excretory system to accomplish this. The earthworms, for example, have nephridia, which are like small, highly inefficient kidneys, 1 pair per segment on their body. Grasshoppers have Malpighian tubules, which remove waste from the blood and secrete them in the intestine. And this conserves water for the grasshopper. Next, you're going to need your blue workbook, and we'll go ahead and label the structures here of the human excretory system. So if you don't have that, pause this video, go and grab it. This structure, of course, is the lungs. We'll talk more about how the lungs function as part of the excretory system here in a moment. The liver, which you learned is also part of the digestive system, skin, and the kidney. So these are the 4 biggies, and we'll take a look at each of these more in depth here in a moment. All right, next, the functions within the excretory system. The lungs excrete carbon dioxide and water in the form of water vapor. So this is how the carbon dioxide produced during aerobic respiration gets excreted by your body through the lungs and out your respiratory system. Next, the liver. Liver detoxifies the blood. That is its job. That is its function. It performs the deamination of excess amino acids, and in mammals, the conversion of ammonia to urea. 1 ammonia molecule plus 2 carbon dioxide molecules becomes 1 urea molecule and 1 molecule of water. The liver also works to get rid of alcohol in your body. It does this by the use of an enzyme called alcohol dehydrogenase, labeled ADH for short, A, D, and H. Recognize this as an enzyme because of the ASE at the end. The liver also is involved in the destruction of old red blood cells and the production of bile from hemoglobin breakdown. It should also be noted that organic solvents and heavy metals damage the liver because there is no way for them to be detoxified. So organic solvents and heavy metals are very dangerous and damaging to your liver. All right, next let's move on to the function of the kidneys. The kidneys filter blood and remove metabolic waste. The functional unit is called the nephron. There are 1.5 million nephrons in each of your kidneys. Blood is filtered in the glomerulus, also known as the Bowman's capsule. Any molecule small enough to get through the membrane crosses. The reabsorption of water and nutrients takes place in the loop of Henle. 99% of water is reabsorbed. Urine is then passed down the ureters into the bladder and leaves the body through the urethra. More to come on the kidneys here in a little bit. Our last organ in the excretory system is the skin. The skin provides protection and excretes sweat. The detection of touch, heat, cold, pressure, and pain, and regulates temperature. Okay, so a member of the excretory system because it excretes sweat, which you know also has salt in it. All right, next let's take a look at structures of the kidneys. This is, again, back in your blue workbook here, so get that out if you set it aside. This structure, and you've got oxygen-rich versus oxygen-poor in the key down here. So this is the renal artery, which makes sense that it would be oxygen-rich because it's an artery. Oxygen-poor vessel would be the renal vein. The cortex, the medulla, the pelvis of the kidney, and this is the ureter, down which the urine begins its path to the bladder. The adrenal glands are attached to it on top of the kidney. This is the kidney itself. Here's the ureter, also shown over here in number 6. The bladder, which collects the urine and then passes through the urethra to exit the body. This next diagram zooms in on a nephron and looks at the structure of the nephron. So this is the branch of the renal artery that's coming off into the nephron. This is the glomerulus. The Bowman's, or renal capsule, is this structure right here. And this looped portion of tubule is called the loop of Henle, and that would be this structure right here. And this is where the waste exchange takes place. This is the branch of the renal vein. So this is the oxygen-rich blood coming in. This is the oxygen-poor blood leaving. And this is the collecting duct. So you can see the waste comes in, gets filtered through this nephron, water reabsorbed in the loop of Henle. The waste goes down through the collecting duct, and the blood continues on back to the heart to be reoxygenated in the lungs. All right, next, specific kidney function. Filtration takes place in the Bowman's capsule in the glomerulus. All substances small enough to diffuse pass from the blood into the urinary tract. These substances include water, sugar, salt, excess vitamins, and urea. These substances do not include proteins and red blood cells. These should not be filtered out and should not appear in urine. That's why if you see blood in your urine, it's of great concern. Reabsorption takes place in the loop of Henle. It is a capillary network. And as mentioned previously, 99% of water, all sugar, some vitamins, and some salt gets reabsorbed. What doesn't get reabsorbed passes into the waste system. All right, let's finish this up by talking about disorders of the excretory system. And we're going to start with cirrhosis. Cirrhosis is caused by chronic alcoholism or exposure to chemicals. In cirrhosis, the liver is scarred and there is no effective treatment. So here's a picture of a healthy liver. Here's a picture of a liver that has cirrhosis. The next disorder we'll talk about is jaundice. Jaundice is a liver dysfunction, and it's when bilirubin builds up in the skin and whites of the eyes and causes a yellow appearance. It can be temporary or it could become permanent. Oftentimes little babies that are newborn get this, and it just takes a little bit of time for it to go away, for their liver to kick in. The last disorder we're going to take a look at are kidney stones. Kidney stones are calcium salts in the kidney, often associated with low water consumption and or diet that's high on oxalic acid, which you would find in spinach and other leafy greens, and can be particularly genetic. It is treated by lithotripsy, which is shattering the stone with high energy sound waves. Sometimes they can also give you an injection or pills that have chemicals that try to dissolve that calcium a little bit. So here's a picture of 2 kidney stones here, and here's a picture of the outline of the kidney, and this little white dot on the x-ray is the kidney stone. These are extremely painful. You can imagine trying to pass one of these through your urinary tract. Here's this picture of a stone in a ureter going down to the bladder, and once it's in the bladder, it's going to try to leave through the urethra, and it is extremely painful. Okay, that'll do it for our notes on the human excretory system. Now let's take a look at a video in which Hank is going to expand on the structures and functions of the human excretory system.